Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today we got a preview of the Prism system, which is coming to Remnant 2 with the Dark Horizon DLC. And if I'm being honest, this looks like an absolute game changer. So this is going to really change the way we use fragments and other upgrades for our characters in Remnant 2. And it comes alongside the brand new boss rush mode, which should be really cool as well. Both of these, the boss rush mode and the Prism system, will be free if you own the game. You don't have to get the DLC in order to use them. So, when setting out to create our endgame system, our primary goal was to ensure players would be able to convert time spent into meaningful power increases. We also wanted to make sure that the power increases were with stats players cared about, so they felt worth chasing. Finally, we want the system to be useful at any level, not just at the end. Enter Prisms, a brand new power boosting system that's part of a free update alongside the Dark Horizon DLC. It works directly with the pre-existing fragments that have been in the game since day one. Before diving into Prisms, they want to understand how fragments work. So if you haven't played Remnant 2 before, essentially fragments are number-based upgrades that you can attach to your relic, 3 of them at a time, to augment certain playstyles. For example, as they mentioned here, cracked range damage fragment might grant 1% total range damage. A mythic might grant 10%. More powerful fragments are found on higher difficulties, with level 31, aka mythic, being the final tier. So essentially that's how it works. Is if you, for example, are going for a high crit build, you'll use a crit based fragment into your relic, or if you want to use a skill based build, then you're going to insert some skill based fragments to your relic. So before DLC 3, there were 39 unique fragments, each providing a unique stat that could supplement your build. They removed about 14, adding 20 new, so a 6 total increase, going from 39 to 45, and the newer fragment choices provide more total value than the ones that are replaced. Players can slot up to 3 fragments at a time. They also have revealed that if you are missing fragments, you will be able to purchase them from Dwell in the main tower location of Area 13. So, finally on the Prisms, let's go into the actual system here. Prism is a container for fragment buffs. Any stat buff that's obtainable as a fragment can also be obtained within a Prism. In fact, they can also be reach the same exact power level. This means if you have 10% crit damage fragment, you can also, with a little luck, obtain 10% crit damage in your Prism for 20% crit damage. So that's a massive upgrade, obviously double what you were previously able to obtain, but it does seem like it's going to be randomized, so you can't just automatically get that 10% bonus, so you have 20% crit damage. Break it down how it works. The baseline Prism has 5 slots for buffs. Each buff is earned through experience and chosen from a selection of 3 of all 45 when the player levels up their Prism. When a Prism is ready to level up, it glows, so you will know that it's ready to go. Select your Prism Enhancement. So reload speed +1, skill damage +1, or fire rate +1. Player makes a choice, and now they have 1 of their 5 Prism slots filled with a fragment buff. It's important to note that until all slots are filled, each choice will be random from the entire group of 45 total options. In the example below, the Prism was leveled up a few more times by grinding out XP, and a few more choices have been selected. When leveling up a Prism, your choices matter because you want to be able to make a cohesive creation. Essentially, just like with fragments, you want to use the Prism options that are going to be fitting your build. Now, this means you're going to want multiple Prisms in order to have the different builds that you want to use ready to go, especially when you're juggling between the campaign, the DLC campaign, or the boss rush mode, which will likely have you on different builds based on what your objective is. Remember that your fragment slots above the Prism can be changed, so depending on what you put into your Prism, you may end up mixing and matching or even double stacking when given the choice to add a new stat. So that's really, really nice. This Prism is really starting to take shape. We have fire rate and a nice damage boost. We have health and stamina to increase our durability. Each of these stats goes to +10, as mentioned. The maximum value matches the maximum value of a level 31 Mystic Fragment stat. Now you might be wondering if you have control which choices appear when your prism is leveled up? The basic answer is no, but there's a caveat. So you can't control which choices appear there, but you can feed a fragment to your prism to skew the chances of that stat rolling when choices appear. It's much more effective early on when you have multiple empty slots. Feeding a fragment to a prism will destroy the fragment, and depending on the quality, skew the roll chances of that stat. In the image below, we sacrificed a mythic ranged crit chance fragment to obtain the maximum roll chance buff. It isn't guaranteed, but it's more likely to appear over time, which is why having more slots open is a good idea when sacrificing a fragment. This seems confusing, but I don't think it will be once you get hands-on. Essentially, you're going to be juggling your fragments in order to get the best possible prism that you can for your build. And so mixing and matching those and essentially sacrificing different relics will be important in order to do that. And it does sound like you can buy from Dwell the missing fragments with relic dust, which is nice. Especially because you haven't really used relic dust in a long time if you've been playing the game quite a bit. So I know a lot of people like myself might have that pretty much stacked up. On the very next roll, range crit chance rolled for us. It's not guaranteed to roll, even with a maximum roll chance buff, but it does highly skew the odds. We got lucky, but those are some good choices. So you see here, range crit chance, weak spot damage, or mod damage. And you have to make the selection of which one you want for your Prism Enhancement. A roll chance buff will remain until it's no longer valid. If your buff stat is already leveled to plus 10, it will disappear since it's no longer needed. It also goes away once the Prism is fully leveled to 50. With this buff in place, each time we roll, we are much more likely to see range crit chance appear in each of our selections. This means it will most likely hit plus 10 before any other stat because it's favored to show more frequently. So yeah, so then you see here it's plus 2, range or reload speed plus 6, and then stamina bonus plus 2. So interesting. I think this is going to be one system that can confuse players early on, but once you get a hang of it, will be very nice, and we'll add some layers to your build crafting, which is always a good thing in my opinion. So hidden in the system are special stats called fusions. These are special combinations that fuse together to grant 2 stats in a single slot. Now this is crazy. In our current Prism system, we have health and stamina. When both reach plus 5, they have the chance to spawn Hulk as a fusion. The fusion is guaranteed, but isn't guaranteed immediately. You may have to roll a few times in order for it to appear, so deciding what to enhance in the meantime is a strategy in and of itself. This example, Prism is really filling out nicely. Now we have both health bonus and stamina at plus 5. We keep leveling up so we can get the fusion bonus. Remember, it is guaranteed, so you may not even want to waste any level ups on those stats. This is because once you take the fusion, it sets the level back to plus 1. We leveled up the Prism a handful of times until Hulk appeared. It's beautiful. Hulk plus 1 health and stamina bonus in one Prism. This is where it's going to get insane because now you have 5 slots with one of your slots having a bonus fusion Prism Enhancement, which is insane. So you see it here and what you have as far as your Prism, and it looks wild. We have 5 stats, but we have an open slot. The minds of all the build crafters out there must be racing. There are quite a few fusions, and it's up to the community to figure them all out. That's the first thing I'm going to be doing, is trying to figure out what fusions are available and which ones to go for. So even knowing them doesn't guarantee each prism will contain them, despite it's so random as to what selections appear. However, feeding can drastically skew the odds. Prism has been leveled up. We can see it's really turning into something special. You have range crit chance plus 7, or ammo reserves plus 2, or gunfighter plus 1. You look at gunfighter as another fusion bonus with fire rate and reload speed. So that's, again, another one that I think if you are running a build that relies heavily on your weapon, having that increased fire rate and reload speed would be absolutely insane. Prism is looking something like might make your friends jealous. Here's another fusion. We got range crit chance, munitions, which is a fusion bonus that has range crit chance and ammo reserves. And yeah, don't forget, again, so you have your range crit chance plus 7, but taking the munitions will drop that back to level 1. Same thing with the ammo reserves at plus 6. So we made a prism with 3 fusions. So if you could get like 4 or 5 fusions, that's going to be absolutely insane. The amount of stat bonus you'll get, you're going to be wildly OP, and I think that's going to be the goal when heading into the boss rush mode, is you're going to want to have maxed out prisms in order to really have the best possible of all of the prism upgrades and all of the stats. So now that's a prism, 8 stats in the prism alone, 3 more on top, 11 total stats up from the 3 we had before Fragments alone. And yes, before you ask, you can absolutely have 4 fusions, bringing total stats up to 12. As a special note, you can cleanse a prism and start over. So if you don't like it, if you want to change up the prism, you can basically restart it. Power is in your hands, blah, blah, blah. Team put a lot of passion and love into the system. So you can start using the Prism system as soon as you obtain a Prism. It isn't just endgame. In fact, Dwell will sell you your first one for 1,000 relic dust. Or you can just play boss rush and kill a bunch of bosses to obtain your first Prism. Get that power burst early to get through the increasing difficulty challenges, or min-max to become a god. It's all up to you. We hope you enjoy interacting with the system. Oh, legendary bonus. That's right. At level 50, getting enough XP to level up one additional time will grant you a legendary bonus choice. So Bodyguard cannot be one-shot while at max health capacity. Altruistic Lifesteal applies 30% of stolen health to allies. And Jack of all trades increases all damage by 45%. Legendary bonuses are absolute game changers that can push your build into the stratosphere. They're insane. So you can get increased relic charges by 100%. Increase concoction limit by 5, increase dodge weight threshold by 100, have all cheat death mechanic timers, gray health cannot be removed, every evade trigger, perfect dodge, double mod charges, and many more. So that's going to be absolutely bananas. So that's what I'm most looking forward to. Anyway, to break it all down, essentially, you're going to have way more stat bonus combinations with this Prism system, which you're going to have to unlock through the boss rush mode for the most part. You'll get one that you can purchase right away from Dwell. All the rest of them have to be earned only in the boss rush mode. They tied it to that probably because it's something to chase, but also because it is free and they don't want to tie it behind the DLC or anything like that when the DLC will be paid content. So overall, very excited. Sounds really awesome. I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing what else they have in store for us when the new DLC does drop. Let me know what you guys think of the Prism system in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe as always. My name is JoPa. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.